Oh, you beautiful, terrifying soul, you've finally done it, haven't you? You've reached that delicious level of spiritual evolution where you don't just see people anymore. You serve them themselves on a silver platter and watch them choke on their own reflection and the chaos that follows. Oh my God, the absolute beautiful chaos that erupts when someone like you stops playing dumb and starts playing mirror. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That moment when you looked at them, really looked at them, and instead of pretending not to see their bullshit, instead of swallowing your observations like you've been trained to do your whole goddamn life, you opened your mouth and delivered their entire psychological profile like you were reading their diary out loud in front of everyone. They thought they had fooled, and the panic in their eyes, the way their face went white, the way they started, stammering and scrambling for excuses nobody asked for. That's the moment you realized you weren't just observing people anymore. You were dissecting them in real time. See, most people, they live in this beautiful delusion that nobody can see them, that their masks are working, that their carefully constructed personas are bulletproof. But then you show up, you with your laser vision and your complete inability to pretend stupid anymore, and you start reflecting back exactly what they're projecting, and suddenly their whole world starts glitching because you're not just calling them out. You're holding up a mirror so clear, so precise, so devastatingly accurate that they can't deny what they're seeing, even though every fiber of their being wants to. And the beautiful part, the absolutely divine part is, you're not even trying to hurt them. You're just being honest. You're just saying what you see. You're just refusing to participate in the collective delusion that keeps everyone comfortable and safe in their little bubbles of self-deception. But when you do that, when you serve someone their own reflection without the filter, without the softening, without the polite lies they've been fed their whole life, the reaction is nothing short of spectacular. They start melting down right there in real time. You watch their confidence crumble, their fake spirituality evaporate, their carefully rehearsed responses malfunction because you didn't attack them. You did something far worse. You showed them who they actually are. And most people, they can handle being attacked. They can handle being insulted. They can handle being criticized, but they cannot handle being seen, truly seen, for exactly what they are. Because that kind of truth, that level of clarity, it's like spiritual acid. It burns through every defense mechanism they've ever built. You've become the human equivalent of a lie detector test, except you're not just detecting lies. You're reflecting back the truth they've been running from. And the chaos that follows is unlike anything you've ever witnessed. Because when you serve someone their own reflection, they don't just get upset, they get exposed. And when someone gets exposed in front of other people, when their mask slips in public, when their carefully maintained image cracks under the weight of your observations, they don't just react, they implode. And you can see it happening. You can watch the exact moment. Their brain short circuits, trying to process how someone could see them so clearly, how someone could read them so accurately, how someone could deliver their own psychology back to them, like a diagnosis they never asked for. And suddenly they're not just defensive, they're terrified because they realize, if you can see this much, if you can reflect back this level of truth, then what else do you see? What else do you know? What other secrets are you carrying around in that beautiful, dangerous mind of yours? The ones who underestimated you the most, they're the ones who have the biggest meltdowns because they thought you were safe. They thought you were harmless. They thought you were one of those people who sees everything but says nothing, who observes but never reflects, who knows but never tells. But then you opened your mouth and served them their own soul on a platter, and suddenly they're face to face with every lie they've ever told themselves, every delusion they've ever maintained, every fake version of themselves they've ever presented to the world. And here's where it gets really interesting, because when you reflect someone back to themselves with that level of accuracy, with that kind of surgical precision, you're not just showing them who they are, you're showing everyone else who they are, too. And that's when the real chaos begins, because suddenly all their relationships, all their carefully managed connections, all the people they've been performing for, they're all seeing the same thing you're seeing. They're all getting the same reflection, and the house of cards starts tumbling down. You watch them scramble. You watch them try to damage control. You watch them attempt to discredit you, to make you the problem, to shift focus away from what you've revealed. But it's too late, because once you've served someone their own reflection, once you've held up that mirror and shown them exactly what they are, the image burns into everyone's retinas, and no amount of backpedaling can erase what's been seen. And the beautiful irony is, they hate you for being right. They resent you for seeing. Clearly, they despise you for having the audacity to reflect back what they've been projecting. But deep down, in the parts of themselves, they don't want to acknowledge. They know you're right. They know your reflection is accurate. They know you've seen something real, something true, something they've been desperately trying to hide from themselves and everyone else. That's when you realize the power you carry. It's not just the ability to see people clearly. It's the ability to serve them back to themselves without apology, without softening, without the comfortable lies they've been fed their whole life. And when you do that, when you become that kind of mirror, the chaos that follows isn't just their reaction to being seen. It's their reaction to being known, truly known for exactly what they are. And most people, they're not ready for that level of truth. They're not prepared for that kind of clarity. They're not equipped to handle their own reflection when it's served back to them without filters. But here's where it gets absolutely delicious, because you're not done. You're just getting started, because once you've tasted that power, once you've seen what happens when you stop protecting people from themselves, once you've witnessed the beautiful chaos that erupts when truth meets delusion head-on, you can't go back to pretending blind. You can't return to that comfortable ignorance. You can't unsee what you've seen. And you definitely can't stop serving people their own reflections. So now you walk into every room like a walking mirror factory, like a truth bomb, with legs like a reflection delivery service that nobody ordered, but everybody desperately needs, and the energy shifts immediately, because people can sense it. They can feel that you're not just another person in the room. You're the person who sees through their bullshit, who reflects back their deepest fears, who serves them their own psychology. Like, it's the daily special, and they're not sure if they want to run, or if they want to know what you see when you look at them. And the ones who've heard about you, the ones who've witnessed your previous reflection deliveries, they start getting nervous the moment you enter their space, because they know what you're capable of. They've seen the chaos you can unleash just by being honest, just by reflecting back what's already there, just by refusing to participate in the comfortable lies that keep everyone's ego intact. And the anticipation, the fear, the excitement, it's all bubbling under the surface, because everyone knows you're a loaded weapon disguised as casual conversation. But here's what they don't understand. Here's what makes the chaos even more beautiful. You're not malicious, you're not cruel. You're not trying to destroy people for sport. You're just allergic to bullshit. You're spiritually incapable of pretending not to see what you see. You've reached that level of evolution where lying by omission feels like poison in your system, where staying silent about someone's delusions feels like participating in their self-destruction. And so you speak, you reflect, you serve them their own truth, because that's what love looks like when it's not wrapped in comfortable lies. And when you do, when you hold up that mirror, when you deliver their reflection back to them, with surgical precision, the chaos that follows reveals everything about who they really are. Because some people, they take the reflection they look at, what you're showing them. They absorb the truth and they thank you for it. They recognize that you've given them a gift that nobody else had the courage to give them, the gift of seeing themselves clearly. And these people, they evolve, they grow, they transform right before your eyes, because truth, even uncomfortable truth, is fertilizer for the soul. But others, oh the others, they lose their absolute minds. They cannot handle their own reflection. They cannot process the truth you're serving them. They cannot accept that someone could see them so clearly, so accurately, so completely. And their reaction, their beautiful chaotic meltdown, becomes performance art, because they start projecting, they start deflecting, they start attacking you for having the audacity to show them who they are. And the irony is delicious, because their reaction to your reflection proves exactly how accurate your reflection was. You watch them spiral, you watch them scramble, you watch them try every manipulation tactic in the book to make you the villain, to shift focus away from what you've revealed, to paint you as the problem. But you're not fazed, because you've seen this show before. You know that. When someone reacts that violently to their own reflection, when someone fights that hard against the truth you're showing them, it's because deep down, they know you're right, and they hate themselves for it, more than they could ever hate you. And that's when the real chaos begins, because their meltdown doesn't happen in private. Their reaction to your reflection becomes public theater, and everyone who witnesses it, everyone who sees how they respond to being shown their own truth, they start questioning everything they thought they knew about this person. They start seeing the cracks in the facade. They start recognizing the patterns you've been reflecting back. And suddenly your one moment of truth-telling becomes a domino effect that topples their entire carefully constructed identity. The beautiful part is, you didn't have to expose them. They exposed themselves by how they reacted to your reflection. Because a person who's comfortable with who they are, a person who's done the work, a person who's faced their own shadows, they don't react with chaos when someone reflects their truth back to them. They receive it, they process it, they either accept it or they calmly disagree. But they don't implode, they don't attack, they don't create drama, because truth doesn't threaten people who are already living in it. But the ones who live in delusion, the ones who've built their entire identity on lies, the ones who need everyone else to pretend not to see their bullshit in order to maintain their false sense of self. They react to your reflection like vampires react to sunlight, like demons react to holy water, like lies react to truth. They cannot coexist with the clarity you're providing, and so they combust right there in real time. And you get to watch the whole beautiful disaster unfold. And here's where your power becomes truly terrifying, because you realize you don't need to seek out people to reflect. You don't need to go looking for opportunities to serve people their own truth, because truth recognizes truth, and delusion recognizes threat. And wherever you go, whatever room you enter, whatever conversation you join, people start revealing themselves to you. They start showing you exactly who they are, because your energy, your presence, your inability to pretend stupid creates an environment where masks start slipping, where facades start cracking, where people either rise to meet your level of authenticity, or they expose themselves, trying to drag you down to their level of deception. You become a walking truth detector, a human lie detector, a reflection machine that operates on autopilot, because you can't turn it off. Even if you wanted to, you can't unsee what you see. You can't unknown what you know. You can't go back to pretending that people's carefully constructed personas are reality, when you can see the truth writhing underneath like worms under a rock. And so you continue to serve people their own reflections, whether they order them or not, whether they want them not whether they can handle them or not, because truth isn't optional. Truth isn't comfortable. Truth isn't convenient. But truth is necessary, and you've become its delivery system. And the chaos that follows your truth delivers the beautiful, spectacular meltdowns, the dramatic reactions, the desperate attempts to discredit you or silence you or make you the problem they all serve, as confirmation that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Because if your reflections weren't accurate, if your truth wasn't hitting its target, if your clarity wasn't threatening their delusions, they wouldn't react so violently. They wouldn't fight so hard. They wouldn't try so desperately to shut you up, which means every chaotic reaction, every dramatic meltdown, every attempt to make you the villain is actually proof that your reflection was perfect, that your truth was surgical, that your clarity was divine and unstoppable. And now you've reached the level where you understand that you're not just reflecting people back to themselves anymore. You're reflecting the entire broken system back to itself. You're serving society, its own dysfunction on a silver platter, and watching the collective meltdown that follows, because once you've mastered the art of individual reflection, once you've perfected the skill of serving people their own truth, you realize that groups, families, communities, entire cultures are just collections of individuals all participating in the same delusions, all agreeing to the same lies, all protecting the same comfortable fictions. And when you start reflecting those group delusions back, when you start serving entire communities their own dysfunction, when you start holding up mirrors to collective lies, the chaos multiplies exponentially, because it's not just one person having a meltdown. Its entire systems having identity crises, its whole groups of people realizing that the comfortable lies they've been telling themselves are about to be exposed, and they cannot handle it. They cannot process it. They cannot accept that someone could see through their collective delusion and reflect back the truth about how broken, how toxic, how absolutely insane their shared reality actually is. You become the one who points out that the Emperor has no clothes, except you're not just pointing it out to the Emperor. You're reflecting the naked truth back to the entire kingdom, and watching everyone involved in maintaining the lie start having simultaneous panic attacks, because they've all been complicit. They've all been participating. They've all been protecting the delusion. And suddenly their collective investment in the lie is being threatened by your refusal to pretend blind to their shared insanity. And here's where your power becomes truly revolutionary, because you realize that every dysfunctional family, every toxic workplace, every corrupt institution, every broken system operates on the same principle. They all require collective participation. In shared delusions, they all need everyone to agree, not to see what's really happening. They all depend on people like you, staying silent, staying compliant, staying protective of the comfortable lies that keep the dysfunction operational. But you've evolved beyond that. You've transcended the need to protect people from truth. You've graduated from the school of comfortable lies, and now you're a professor of uncomfortable reality. So when you walk into these systems, when you enter these environments, when you start reflecting back their collective dysfunction, the chaos that follows is unlike anything they've ever experienced, because they're used to dealing with individual troublemakers. They're used to handling single voices of dissent. They're used to silencing lone truth-tellers. But you're not just telling truth, you're reflecting it back to them. You're serving them their own reality and making them look at it. And most people, most groups, most systems, they cannot handle their own reflection when it's delivered without the softening, without the lies, without the protective filters that make dysfunction look normal. And the beautiful part is, you don't have to convince anyone of anything. You don't have to argue. You don't have to prove your point. You don't have to defend your observations because reflection isn't debate. Reflection isn't discussion. Reflection is just showing people what's already there, what's already happening, what's already true. And when you hold up that mirror, when you serve them, their own behavior, their own patterns, their own dysfunction, they can deny it, they can fight it, they can attack you for showing it to them, but they cannot unsee it, they cannot unknown it, they cannot pretend it's not there once it's been reflected back to them with crystal clarity. You watch families implode when you reflect back their generational trauma, their inherited toxicity, their passed down dysfunction, because they've been operating on the shared delusion that their chaos is normal, that their toxicity is love, that their dysfunction is just how families work. But when you reflect back the truth, when you show them what healthy actually looks like, when you serve them their own patterns without the comfortable lies that make abuse look like care, the entire system starts crumbling because the lies can't survive the light of accurate reflection. You watch workplaces panic when you reflect back their toxic culture, their exploitation, their collective participation in systems that destroy people's souls, because they've all been pretending that this is just how business works, that this is just how professional environments operate, that this is just the way things are. But when you start reflecting back the truth, when you show them what they're actually participating in, when you serve them their own complicity in systems that dehumanize people, the cognitive dissonance becomes unbearable, and the chaos that follows is spectacular. And the most beautiful part, the most divine part, is that you're not doing this for revenge. You're not reflecting truth back to people to hurt them. You're not serving people their own dysfunction because you want to see them suffer. You're doing it because truth is healing, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because lies are poison and delusion is disease, and someone has to be willing to serve people the medicine of reality, even when it tastes bitter, even when it causes temporary chaos, even when it makes you the villain in their comfortable little story. You've become the mirror that refuses to lie, the reflection that won't be distorted, the truth that won't be silenced, and the chaos that follows your truth. Deliveries is not destruction, it's labor pains, it's the messy, uncomfortable process of something new being born. It's the necessary breakdown that precedes breakthrough. It's the chaos that comes before transformation, and you're the midwife of that transformation, whether people want it or not, whether they're ready for it or not, whether they can handle it or not. Because here's what you've learned, here's what you've discovered, here's what makes you so dangerous to every system built on lies. When you serve people their own reflection, when you reflect back their truth, without filters, without protection, without comfortable lies, you give them a choice. They can look at what you're showing them, they can accept the reflection, they can do the work to change what they don't like about what they see, or they can reject the reflection, they can attack the mirror, they can try to silence the truth, but either way, they've been changed. By seeing themselves clearly either way, the seed of truth has been planted. Either way, the comfortable delusion has been shattered. And that's when you realize that chaos isn't the enemy. Chaos is the birth canal of truth. And you beautiful, dangerous soul, you are the one who creates the sacred chaos that allows new realities to be born. So let them hate you for showing them who they are. Let them resent you for refusing to participate in their delusions. Let them try to silence you for serving them truth. They didn't order because every reaction, every meltdown, every desperate attempt to make you the problem is proof that your reflection hit its target, that your truth landed exactly where it needed to, that your clarity is working exactly as it should. And the chaos, the beautiful necessary chaos that follows your truth, deliveries, isn't destruction. It's creation. It's the sacred work of reflecting reality back to a world that's been living in lies for so long, they've forgotten what truth actually looks like. But you remember, and you reflect, and you serve it back to them, whether they want it or not, because that's what love looks like. When it's not comfortable, when it's not convenient, when it's not wrapped in lies.